Hi, my name is Tabatabai, and I'm here to talk with Fan Carpet about my new short film, Falsified. It's inspired by Spain's stolen baby scandal, and it's about a man whose son was stolen at birth, and now after 30 plus years, he thinks he's finally found his long lost child. Check it out.
We used to wonder why so many children were taken. Was it because of religious and political reasons? Or was it a profitable business?
It's happened between the 1930s and, I thought, the 80s. There's cases that say it's gone up until the 90s as well. In short, it was basically the idea of the Franco regime to weaken their political enemies. So what they did was they changed laws and found ways to almost collude with the Catholic Church, with Spain being heavily Catholic, and they took babies from these families pretty much at birth. So the baby would be born, and then within a few hours, they'd take it away, as would normally happen. But then someone, normally a nun, would come back and tell them that the baby had died, and that wasn't true. They basically then took the actual baby and sold them to someone else, and it kind of happened, over many decades. It was initially, based off of that Franco notion, but it then became a business, basically. That was the key thing. I think the humanity behind it. First I hadn't seen anything about it from a narrative perspective. There was a few shows in Spain that had been done, but it was still very factual, very about the logistics. And I just thought, well, let's focus on two people and what that would be like for them if they actually came into that scenario, because I think we can all imagine that to explore it, I think, was really interesting for me. And, on a flip side, I assume people knew about this because I grew up in Spain. Then I started to find out as I spoke to people, they had no idea. Even some people in Spain that are friends of mine either said they didn't know because they didn't, or it was just too sensitive a subject for them. So we wanted to explore that, to put it out there. I guess it's a bit of both, right? I think it had to be all factual based first. We had to kind of get all of that right because I want it to be true and honest to the people that have actually experienced it. That was a concern for me. I didn't want to put something out there that would potentially inaccurately reflect what people are going through. So there was a lot of, what are the logistics? How did they do this? What was the sort of, changes that they made to the Constitution that allow this to take place? Who was involved? But then I didn't want it to be just a rip on someone else's story. I want it to be a story that was inspired by that. And it gave us a bit more freedom. We could take creative license and then focus in on them looking at, the actual family dynamic of the father and the son. It can be. I think that was the thing. I didn't want to sort of brush stroke it and make it be too obvious. I want the audience to be able to kind of make their own mind up for it. I think that's the feedback we're getting. People are picking out different themes. That's definitely one of them. I would agree with that. And I think we wanted it to be kind of ambiguous because the reality is it's an ambiguous thing that's happened. It's not all happy endings for everybody. So yes, that was important for us to, not do the Hollywood ending in that way. And from my perspective, I just think it was important to focus more on the humanity behind it as opposed to trying to really pinpoint on a specific theme. It's about truth. For me, it was about the truth of these characters and the truth of what happened to them. It's not as challenging, and this sounds really kind of egotistical, but it's not as challenging as it maybe sounds, because I think they kind of happen in different chunks in some ways. So I think, I was quite fortunate to get the writing process done, then kind of move into production, and then as an actor, just focus on that, and everything was segmented in some ways. The reason I think it was that easy is because I had great people around me, and for me it was important to make sure they could focus on what they're best at and alleviate any concerns for me before we actually got to set. So I think it's fluid. I think they all kind of intertwine anyway. I found that. It's my first project I've written as an actor, but it's all kind of part of the same thing. was actually quite fluid and easy because we have worked before together as an actor-director kind of combination. So knowing each other helps. He was great because during the writing process, I could bounce ideas off of him. It wasn't like, I've written this, here you go. He was always someone that I wanted to come in and direct it. Direct it from the perspective of someone who's a very great filmmaker. He's got a keen eye for the edit because he's got a great editing background. And I knew I needed somebody who had that technical ability to pick out the shots and bring that vision to life. I think we kind of describe it as the showrunner-director dynamic from a TV show. I think that's the best way to look at it, which is weird maybe for a film, but that's kind of how I think we've been working through the process. That was actually Adam Lyons, who's the cinematographer, really. Stefan definitely had some input, and so did I, but that's all Adam. He's a genius cinematographer. We've worked together before as well. He looked at the script and we kind of all discussed it, and he was able to pinpoint how to kind of tell the story and those emotions through the lighting and really capture that in the frame. You know, he had the idea of bringing the characters closer together more and more as the piece progressed. There's kind of shadow on my character because of the place he's in, whereas the character played by Mitch is more kind of in light, and he just, you know, uses his open spaces so intelligently. It was very deliberate. I'd like to take the credit, but that's all I am. Amazing. It was great. It was an amazing experience. I was a little nervous going into it because of that kind of student-teacher dynamic, but it was so easy, which is testament to just how he approaches the work. You know, he was an amazing teacher. I trained with him for 3-4 years, but that transition was so smooth. It was so simple, and he was the only person that could do that role for me. So I agree, he was incredible. He kind of brings it all together and kind of leads that whole story in such an amazing way. Sure, yeah, I mean the church is the main one. So we've actually shot this up in Leeds, which is where sort of Adam and Stefan and myself are based. So that made it a bit easier, I think, to get the locations. But we're really fortunate. It was, you know, there's a few options with the churches. That one just had, I think, the right kind of vibe and tone and dynamic about it. So I think being up north made it easier to secure it, for sure. Was it part of the decision to do it in a church? Yeah, definitely. I think something about the story and the fact that, you know, the Catholic Church was so involved with what actually happened, I think meant that we wanted to incorporate that in some way, definitely. It's a good question. I don't know. I guess intentionally, it's probably hard to say. Maybe subconsciously stuff just comes out. You know, there were very specific choices made around certain things like the castanets, which, you know, were a symbol of the mother, and that's a very atypical Spanish thing. I didn't want it to be too cliche, but I think, you know, in those ways, yes, it was very deliberate. I think in other ways, I'm not sure, there may be things that you picked up on that I'm not even aware of through doing that, to be fair with you. Same thing as an actor, really. I think it's just stories that are there to explore some kind of truth and really dig into, you know, the reality of what's happening between different people and the human connection. And stuff that's not afraid to kind of explore the darker, more shadowy sides. You know, I think those kind of films and movies have an important place, and they can still have a kind of levity and lightness to them by exploring that. So, you know, that's what I'm drawn to as an actor. I think the same from a production company standpoint. One step at a time, I think, would be the first answer. I think we're focusing on the short film. But yeah, there's other projects that I'm developing with Adam, who's a cinematographer. So we're developing something now, which it's still in its early stages. And then, you know, I think there's a feature maybe in Falsified. I think there's so much to the story. That was a challenge when writing it. It's like, which part do you focus on? So yeah, down the line we might get to looking at the feature version of Falsified, but like I said, one step at a time.
This is all just something that happened in the past.
The past? This is my life.
Thank you for watching The Fan Carpet. If you like this video, be sure to click that thumbs up button at the bottom of your screen. And also be sure to subscribe to the Fan Carpet YouTube channels. They're absolutely free and so much fun too. Be sure to check out the official website, thefancarpet.com. Also, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to stay up to date with reviews, competitions, the latest news, and so much more.